Are you or someone you love currently in the thralls of cozy farmer slop syndrome? This is becoming increasingly prevalent in the modern day. You see, the quote unquote modern audience has spread this condition far and wide, so you may have it, even if you're not currently aware of it. But there is hope. There is a cure. It's called Just Play Rune Factory, you absolute casual.
I'm sorry. I mean, I would, but I was walking along and suddenly I hit my head, and now I'm holding this magical artifact, and also I have amnesia. Good thing I have my trusty short sword and rusty hoe. I will go to this new village over here. Why, hello there, young lady. I am here. I am Heroin Chan. And you are going to be my husband. Have a turnip. Wow, this is the nicest anyone has ever been to me.
As far as he remembered. Yes, welcome everyone to a greatly belated post-hiatus Tomodachi Bros podcast episode. Took a little break, had some scheduling issues that we are trying to get back into the groove, and we thought that the best way to do that we talk about a franchise that, frankly, we won't shut up about, but it requires a bit of context. So let me take you back. Let me whisk you away to the far-off year of 1996.
Future Snek, future editor Snek. What you need to do at this point is you need to add the flashback back in time, like sound effect.
Yeah,
if you can do that.
Yeah, I think I can. So in 96 in Japan, this game comes out, and its name is Farm Story. And it is localized by Natsume Entertainment in 1997 as Harvest Moon. It is a game where your grandpa gives you a farm, and you have 3 years to make something of it, and then the game basically refuses to tell you anything, and so when the Judgment Day comes and you get a really inexplicably low score, it can be really, really difficult to parse why. It was kind of buggy. What's that?
I get the sense that it was one of those situations, because this was on the SNES, right?
Correct.
Yeah, or the Super Famicom, if we really want to be, actually accurate and correct. So I get the sense that like a lot of the ideas they had really could not be, crystallized, could not be, actually done, because the SNES, as beautiful and as marvelous as it is still fairly primitive as console computers go.
And that's true. And to give you guys some ideas as to like what you can expect, like if you play the entire game front to end, which I have multiple times, the game does not expect you to pick just one bachelorette to marry. It expects you to marry one and max out the affection of all the others anyway. It expects you to basically have, like, plowed the entirety of your field. It expects really, really...
choice of words.
I mean, yeah, but, like, it expects you to do some really ridiculous hyperbolic stuff, and a lot of it was not intuitive. So odds are good that when you do play through this cozy farm simulator RPG, you're gonna run into kind of a bad to mediocre ending at best. because, like I said, it doesn't really explain itself. But the cool thing about Farm Story is it doesn't end there. There were many, many, many sequels, spin-offs, and remakes. In fact, Harvest Moon 64 is one of the games I specifically wanted to include in my top 10 list of N64 games not made by Nintendo or Rare. It's like, it's really good. It was a really good game. And they're still going to this day. But here's the confusing part. There's a little bit of legalese here. And if you guys have seen my Rune Factory reviews, you've heard me talk about this. You will hear me continue to talk about this into the future until the normies get it through their skulls. So, Farm Story has always been Farm Story in Japan. That has never changed. Now, Harvest Moon technically still exists, but now modern Harvest Moon is made by Natsume, not just localized by them. And what is still Farm Story in Japan comes over now as Story of Seasons. Yes, this is confusing. Yes, it's tremendously unhelpful. But yes, there is a stark contrast in quality. Modern Harvest Moon is garbage. The general cozy game farm sim slop that you find a dime a dozen these days is generally better than the stuff that Natsume is putting out under the Harvest Moon logo. So, don't get these confused, because you will be disappointed.
I will freely admit, I will say this. I have never actually sat down and played an actual Harvest Moon game. The closest I've done is I have played a number of the older Rune Factory titles with you, Professor.
Yes.
I don't know. The entire conceit of just the non-combat sections of Rune Factory, just in like, that's the game, is like, wow, I am going to be bored out of my gourd.
Yeah, it's something that you have to like, and for some people like me, you have to be in the mood for. Like, it's not something I'm like, oh boy, I want to raise a cozy farm every single day. I'm just not that type of gamer. Now,
I mean, don't get me wrong. I like the fact that in Rune Factory, especially with the skill system that they set up in the new era,
right.
You can be given the choice of like, do you want to go out and bully goblins, or do you just want to hang out in the village and cook food or fish for an entire day, and that just coincidentally increases your stats in particular ways.
Yep, and we'll get more into that here in just a second. This requires some explanation. You might be going, Snek, what does any of this have to do? What does Farm Story, Harvest Moon, or Story Seasons have to do with Rune Factory? Well, everything. Because Rune Factory was made as the 10th year anniversary special for Farm Story. The original Japanese title is Rune Factory, a fantasy farm story. The Natsume still had the license at the time, so it was brought over as Rune Factory, a fantasy harvest moon. So that doesn't really make sense, I mean, like, grammatically, but the same energy is there. And unlike Harvest Moon, which usually just kind of makes your character a bit of an Afghan cap, and you're just like, oh, well, your uncle, who we're never going to show on screen, gave you a farm and a horse and a dog, and there's a suspiciously large number of eligible bachelorettes in town. Get to work, champ. Instead, Rune Factory goes for the total amnesia hero. And of all of them, which I believe there are now, like, I guess there would be like 8 or 9 total, like, only 3 are not amnesiacs. And of the amnesiacs, only 1 has something resembling a little bit of a backstory. So you're really left to fill in the blanks.
Is it? Yeah, and like, I want to say, even with 4, I want to say 4 is pretty egregious in terms of having a situation whereby you go to okay, this is going to be minor spoilers, so future editor Snek, please, add the spoiler warning now, I guess.
Right.
Warning. is a non-stop spoiler onslaught going forward. Abandon all pretenses, ye who enter here.
This is very basic spoilers. This is like the first half an hour of the game. You go through a new town because you literally fall into the city hall. You survive this somehow. You wake up, and you are not only assumed to be the prince, the actual prince shows up and goes, "Oh yeah, you're totally the prince." Wink. Did you just wink at me? No. Wink.
Well,
And so
you
you
survive the
basically-
fall because you land on your Fembro Ventuswill.
Yes. And so you are now committing, identity fraud. And when you actually do, regain your identity, everyone just goes, "Well, I mean, that's nice. You're still going to be the prince, right?" And you go like, "I mean, I guess."
Sure. Is it really identity fraud if the person gave you their identity and begs you not to give it back?
I guess that's true. I mean, it does allow you a level of freedom that you don't really get in 3. And it's one of those things where I'm like, even in Guardians of Ozma, I'm like, man, it's really convenient how much, how much the prince system allows you to do. They kind of do that in Guardians of Ozma, but because of the way that the village lord system is. But I suppose we'll get to that.
This requires some context. Let's start at the beginning. Rune Factory can be split up a couple different ways. First is you can say that there is old Rune Factory and then there's new. The dividing line of that is somewhere between Rune Factory Frontier and Rune Factory Tides of Destiny, or arguably between Rune Factories 2 and 3. Now, that's another thing, is because some of them are mainline numbered games. Rune Factories 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, with 6 currently in development as of this recording. And then there are the spin-off games,
The
Rune Factories
latest
Frontier.
The latest game, Guardians of Ozma, broke several sales predictions within the first day. And so they were like, yeah, we're doing Rune Factory 6.
Yeah, 6 is happening. And then there's the sideline games, which are Frontier, Tides of Destiny, and Guardians of Ozma. And honestly, the side games tend to be a lot more experimental. So I'm going to kind of save those for last, and we're going to go through the chronological numbered games first, because honestly, it's way easier to explain stuff if we do it this way. So, flashback to the Nintendo DS, not the 3DS, the original DS.
The Nintendo DS, no one was alive.
No one was alive in 2006. The year I graduated high school.
Tell them that. Don't give them hope.
So, the Nintendo DS comes out, and we get this Rune Factory, A Fantasy Harvest Moon. And let me tell you, it's kind of rough.
Yeah, you gotta say, out of all, the way that I try to approach the games is I always have 1 or 2 targets that I'm like, this is the girl I'm gonna focus on.
Right.
Let me tell you, man, you're right. It is rough. Unless you're going for the meme option here, it is rough.
So, the thing to know is that Rune Factory shares its universe with all Rune Factory installments. They all happen in the same world at approximately the same time, with some implied time skips here and there, generally moving forward with the newer games. So
a bunch of other games, will have protagonists or side characters show up in other titles.
Yep.
2 is especially egregious of this. Their characters show up all the time, which is funny because 2 is the only one that I've never actually sat down and played. So I'll be like, I'll just see some over-designed person. I'll be like, "Oh, I don't know you. You must be from 2." And they're like, "Hey, how's it going?" And I'm like, "Oh, yeah."
Yeah, there is truth to that. So Rune Factory 1 focuses on Raguna. And Raguna is a courageous and well-meaning man who just kind of wakes up one day with no memory of who he was or where he comes from. And he meets Mist. And it's basically he, without realizing it, by accepting her kindness and generosity, he has signed a Faustian bargain that means he will never know peace again for the rest of his days.
Is this because of Mist, or is this just because of the fact that he gets swept up in Mist shenanigans?
Like,
That's the question.
here's my theory. I think Mist herself is largely harmless. She is just kind of an airhead. She loves farming. She loves turnips. She's a very simple, down to earth person who's a little flighty. But hear me out. You know the show Milo Murphy's Law, where stuff
Yes.
just keeps happening to this one guy? I think that's what's
Yes.
happening to Mist. She just draws in the weirdness, the strangeness this world has to offer, and just it gets drawn to her. And because it's drawn to her, it's drawn to Raguna by proxy.
Yeah, because she's supposed to be the quote unquote girl next door, basically canon vanilla waifu that you can marry. So it's kind of assumed that you're going to wipe her up. The problem being is that you either assume, as Snek is saying, that she is the most milk toast vanilla character, and most of it. But then she does things that are just very strange. Like she just wanders through a high level area.
And she admits she doesn't have any weapons, by the way.
Yeah. And then you have to go through the area too, and it's full of poison panels and extremely high monsters, and you're like, how?
How did you do this? How do you continue to do it?
Yes. And she does it a couple times, and so it's just Snek and I have kind of, pondered occasionally. It's like, is she just stupidly powerful, and she just never ever brings it up to Raguna?
That is possible. That cannot be ruled out.
More questions than it just raises more questions.
It does. Now, the thing about the first Rune Factory game is, as a game, I can't really recommend it. It's actually not very good. But that's because it tried new things. This is a team that had made cozy farm simulator RPG where the focus was on having these zany anime-esque character interactions and seeing, the old lady Gertrude McOlderson died, and that's very sad, and this event happens in the second year of the game, and influences your town XYZ parameters. And they're like, okay, well, we need to make an action RPG, and these are the people we're choosing to do it with. So you might see there's a little bit of a disconnect.
Yeah, there's a lot more fiddly bits in this one. Like I distinctly remember, especially with like monster ranching. What a crazy concept.
I know, right?
Like you need like very specific equipment. Like in other games, you just kind of need a brush and a bar. But in this one, you need like the dairy, like milk extracting tools.
Yep.
You need like particular, I want to say for like cluckadoodles, you need like very particular quarters for them. Otherwise, they won't give you eggs.
And you have to get the egg collector. You have to have a collecting tool for milk, eggs, and shearing. That was all different tools that you had to have in your bag.
Yes, whereas they simplified this very heavily in later games. I mean, even in Rune Factory 2.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
There's a skill system. It's a learn by doing skill system. So if you use short swords in combat, your short sword skill goes up. If you cook food, your cooking skill goes up. Now, that sounds great. Now, here's why it's actually kind of terrible. And it's terrible because skills do not move you forward in old Rune Factory games. They hold you back. They are specifically designed to gatekeep you.
New Rune Factory, it will do the same thing. The thing is, though, is that your excuse me, your skills actually will give you stat bonuses. So, for instance, I want to say like just running around or carrying things will actually improve your strength and stamina.
Yep.
Staying awake will do the same thing. Sleeping will do the same thing. Bathing, eating. There's like 100 different skills, and they all improve in various different ways.
Yes, there's way more skills. Some of them are gimmies, like walking and sleeping, and they all make you stronger. And they're also way less obnoxious to get. Like, they're just way less of a pain to collect.
Let me tell you, getting love is can be difficult.
So
okay, that to just so everyone is aware, this is a for all ages game. Love is an actual magical element.
Yep.
It basically casts charm on enemies when you hit them with it. It is also really rare, so actually getting your love score high can be a pain for that reason. You either have to enchant your weapon that you use with love element, or you have to cast, I want to say it's like Cupid's arrow, which is like the basic love attack.
Yep. And funny enough, the quality that love element gives your weapons is HP drain. There's a dark joke waiting to be made there.
Like Pat Benatar said, love is a battlefield. What can I say?
Yep. So, Raguna, everything in the game is designed to make Raguna progress through the game as slowly as humanly possible. The skill system is just one way. You don't get additional stats. What's that?
No, I was just going to say, this is supposed to model the fact that it's supposed to be a comfy game. You're not supposed to do this, power through this in a weekend. This is supposed to be like a very slow, very, modest progression type of game. It's supposed to be comfy.
Yes.
The problem being is that it becomes infuriating, especially when you play latter-day Rune Factories and then you come back to this one and you're like, why are you making this so difficult? You figure this out.
A lot of that time that you're spending in the game is not properly earned. It basically just disrespects the player's time. So, like, okay, there's dungeons in this game. There's a bunch of them. So how do you unlock the first dungeon? Well, I will tell you. You take that rusty hoe that Mist gave you, and you plow 50 units in your field. Doesn't matter how, doesn't matter what you use them for, just plow, plow, plow. Then the mayor will give you a permit for the first dungeon of the game. And this is where the story really actually gets started, because it introduces a lot of the lore that actually stays in canon for the rest of the franchise. So, monsters come from a spiritual realm known as the Forest of Beginnings. And they come through via magical coalescence of energy. Magic energy in this world is called runes, by the way. Rune Factory. Ta-da. These gates form, and no one knows how to make them. No one can make a gate. They're natural phenomenon. But these guys, the Zex Empire,
they seem to just materialize.
Yep.
It's not really a thing.
Yeah, you can't really control them per se. The Zex Empire sees that and goes, we can work with those, and creates basically a capture device so they can move the gates once they've formed. And they basically start filling these local dungeons with these captured gates, and therefore with monsters. So Raguna's like, well, crap, these things are full of monsters. That's super dangerous to the inhabitants of the town. I better do something about this. So he takes his weapon in hand and gets to grinding. And basically, TLDR, it's all kind of tied into the basic story, which, it's probably better if I just go ahead and spoil it. So, Zex Empire is using this little, dipwater town called Cardia, because it is a frontier settlement in the largest kingdom in this world. Now, we have some information about this world, but not a lot. All we know is there's basically the Central Kingdom, there's the Zex Empire, which is its next door neighbor, there are the distant islands, and then there is some mystical nation far to the east, which we're going to spend 20 years alluding to and never giving it a name. And then Guardians of Azuma is it's Azuma. It's literally just Azuma.
Well, I mean, I want to say Makoto in Tides of Destiny, who is the manliest and strongest and the most, roguishly handsome character, and definitely not a woman in drag.
No, definitely.
But no, I mean, I say that about everyone. I mean,
oh, of course, that's just normal.
Yeah. So I say that she. Okay, Makoto is a woman. You can actually marry her.
Yes.
Makoto mentions that she comes from Azuma, so I mean, it's
she doesn't name drop it. Azuma as a place is not name dropped until Guardians of Azuma, but they talk about. We have since Rune Factory 1. Actually, there have been characters, especially bachelorettes, who are like, "Oh yeah, my family is from this distant country in the far east that has samurai and katanas and sushi," but we're not really going to go too much into that.
Yeah, Pia and I mean her adoptive sister from 4E.
Sakia.
Yes, they're probably the most prominent, apart from our boy Makoto.
So the Zex Empire is an industrialized nation that has lost their connection to the runes. Now, the thing is, the runes are a cyclical force where there was once a tribe of people known as Earthmates. The Earthmates could take the Earth's power in the form of runes and use powerful magics.
There was once. I mean, they're still around.
They're around in great quantities, and apparently you can just make them if you know the right forbidden magic. Shrug, this continuity is weird. So there used to be an entire civilization of these people, and there's a few kicking around, and they just look like ordinary people. Oh yeah, by the way, in this world, they're elves and dwarves, and they're just like people. Like, elves, they're just people with pointy ears, and there's one dwarf, Bado, who is like 6'6". So like, it's really anything goes.
I think it's more their body type that really, because like you look at Bado, you look at the other dwarves, and they're built like Mr. Universe.
Yeah, they're very stout, very strong people. So
whereas everyone else is just kind of anime skinny.
Yeah, there is that. So the Earthmates were once a thriving civilization, and something bad happened. But the Earthmates, their whole deal was they could take the runes from the Earth and use the magic to invigorate the Earth in order to create more runes in an upward spiral. This is less of like a Miyazaki-esque fantasy, because like they say point blank, industrialization is not a bad thing in this universe. People have refrigerators and ceiling fans, stuff that didn't exist until the Industrial Revolution. But the thing is...
one of the things you can do is, in order to improve your storage space, is you literally buy a fridge.
Yep.
Even to the point that in latter-day games, when you start getting the nicer appliances, the shopkeepers will chit-chat with you. You're like, "Oh, your wife's going to love this." And you're like, "What are you talking about? I'm going to love this. This is going to be awesome. I can cook so many cooks with this.
I'm going to cook so many high-level dishes with this." So, like, industrialization on its own is not a bad thing. The thing that the Zex Empire is doing wrong is they're very militant about it, and to almost a Captain Planet-esque degree.
I would argue it's also that, and also the fact that they keep trying to rip holes in space-time, or creating horrific half machine, half, monster hybrid soldier creatures and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's not so much that they use technology. It's the fact that, they use technology in naughty ways, I guess ultimately is what I'm saying.
It's how they're using the tool, basically. Yes. So the big reveal, like, you even fight a tank, like a legit honest-to-God tank, and Raguna has to fight it with a sword.
I was about to say, what are you talking about? In 4, you fight a Gundam.
Well, yeah, but like this happened first. Raguna sword fights a tank and wins somehow. And the only bachelorette worth wifing in the first game, by the way, like she does a heel face turn, and she's basically the Zex Empire's lead officer. And once you beat the story mode, you can pursue her. And honestly, I found her to be like the only one worth pursuing. because Rune Factory 1 takes itself entirely too seriously and tries to be very like, oh, we are very stoic people. Things are taken very seriously here. And it's like the only comedic levity is missed, which may be why people like her. I don't know. So, crazy
I like her
evil
just
lady.
because I like her just because I like the meta-textual irony. I know this is what, this is, I can't imagine like, Hipster Tiger is associated with me. But yeah, I mean, I see where you're coming from with her. I just kind of look at her and I'm like, oh yeah, no, I mean, she's not Celis again. Good job, bro. Good job.
So, heel face turn lady, sticks a tank on you. Raguna destroys it, and he's kind of like, haha, what are you gonna do now? I broke your precious toy. And she's like, oh, no. You misunderstand. The tank was a means to an end. Like, you were supposed to do that. And he's like, what?
What?
And he's like, so underneath this Dipwater town is one of the ancient 4 legendary dragons. Because, like we said, there's magic in this world. Magic is broken up into elements. Those elements are earth, wind, fire, water, light, dark, and love. And yeah, that this world is weird. What can I say? They're like, oh, by the way, the great dragon of the earth, Terrible, his name is Terrible, lives underneath this town.
Every single one of the great dragons has really pun awful names.
Yes.
All of them.
Yes, there's Terrible of the earth, Firesome of the fire, there's Aquaticus of the water, Ventuswil of the wind, and I actually don't remember the names of the light and dark dragons. They don't show up till 5, so there's a ways off. And we don't know who the love dragon is yet. I'm assuming it's a she, maybe, question mark, has not appeared yet, so we don't know. So
what about the 2 dragons in Guardians of Ozma? Are they important?
They are powerful dragons, but they are not part of the great dragons of the creation myth, because Tides of Destiny reveals that when the 4 great dragons battled the ancient legendary golem, that is what shaped the planet and all the continents and exhausted the great dragons and put them into their present predicament, with Terrible and Firesome locked deep underground because of their violent nature, Aquaticus basically hiding in a lake to lick his wounds, and Ventuswil just decided inexplicably to just chill out and just start hanging out with people and being BFFs.
I mean, there's a little bit more to it with Aquaticus. It's the entire, I am going to harass this one Earthmate, and he's going to try and, start a family. And it's like, I don't think so, Jim.
I'm going to block you so hard. Why? So that you will unite these 2 warring peoples. What?
I'm already marrying their village elder. What more do you want from me?
No, all of them. You have to unite all of them. Just marrying Karuna is not enough.
I mean, have you seen her? She's kind of high maintenance.
Oh, please, give her some chocolate.
Chocolate is so, it's kind of hard to get, actually.
It's kind of hard to come by, yes. So, getting back on track here. Terrible is awoken because of all the ambient rune energy that Raguna has set in motion, including defeating all those bosses.
Which is funny because the Let's Play that you did of it, you made him sound like he was an old man getting up out of his, apartment because like, what are you kids doing up here? You need to stop your music.
You darn kids and your hip hop and your rock music. So Raguna actually defeats Terrible, canonically. Rune Factory 1 is weird because it's the only game in the franchise where if you die, it's actually just a hard game over, instead of you waking up in the clinic the next day and the doctor just kind of tut-tutting you and going, don't do that again, you idiot. Now give me half your life savings.
Oh, man. But I'm saving for the fridge. Well, I guess you're going to have to save longer.
So he defeats Terrible and he gets back to the surface and he's like, the Zex Empire, stop this Zex fighting. And the Emperor, Ethelbert, is just like, I have an army of tanks. And Raguna's like, I have a dragon. And Terrible, like, spews his breath of the earth on the tanks, which causes vines to start just, like, growing into the mechanisms and forever blocking off the road between the Zex Empire and Cardia. And Ethelbert is like, curses, foiled again. I better run away and hide for the next 3 numbered installments before I try again. And you might be like, okay, that does sound pretty rough. I was like, is this the worst game in the series? No, it's not. Rune Factory 1 was a little misguided. It had a fundamentally flawed direction and design philosophy. Revisiting it now is incredibly painful and best enjoyed with a Game Shark in your DS, because it's kind of bad. It's way too grindy. It does stupid things, like making one of the story mandatory dungeons only accessible in winter. And the game literally draws your attention to it, because if you stay the night using a sleeping bag in this dungeon on the last day of winter, you are trapped there until it goes back to winter again. This is kind of a bad game, but I understand the why of it. They were trying to make a game that was worth the money, that maintained the spirit of the farm story games. And for what it is, it's an interesting installment. And all that is to say, the worst installment is Rune Factory 2. Oh, Rune Factory 2 is bad.
I mean, yes, I would argue it's more because they leaned into the relationship aspect of the game in a very strange way.
So they were like, hey, what was like, they polled fans and they were like, what was your favorite part of Rune Factory? And a lot of people, we loved like the dungeons, we loved the action, we loved the romance. The romance angle was huge in these fan polls. And they went, okay, well, why don't we make a game that focuses very heavily on that? This creates Rune Factory 2, set in the game of the city of Alvarna, and the main character is an amnesiac Earthmate named Kyle. Kyle is useless. Kyle doesn't really do anything of note. He only has access to the first tier of all available tools and weapons. He can't really grind his stats terribly high. The only monsters that show up are basic fodder. Like, he's kind of functionless. But the game doesn't go on until you get married and pop out a kid. Because that's when the game actually starts. And let me tell you, grinding relationships in Rune Factory 2 is only a tiny bit less grueling than Rune Factory 1's. It takes a very long time.
Yeah.
So, I have to give Rune... Okay, let me extend an olive branch here for just a second. I'm being probably unnecessarily harsh. Rune Factory 2 was the start of the general tone of writing that the rest of the franchise would embrace. Rune Factory 2 was more comedy-driven. It took itself a little less seriously. The item description started peppering in jokes. Like, the description for spinach mentions that it gives super strength to sailors, and there's a straw hat armor you can make that talks about pirates. And so it's like, they're very clearly trying to maintain a better sense of humor. The game is a little bit more anime-esque. Things are more vivid and colorful. Things pop more. It's like, what was your favorite dungeon in Rune Factory 1? The cave, the other slightly different cave, the cave with water in it, the cave with magma in it, or the other cave? So, Rune Factory 2 adopted a bit of a less is more approach. There are 5 major dungeons. The first 4 are themed on spring, summer, fall, and winter, tying directly into the themes of the game. So, Kyle eventually gets lucky, and they have a kid. You can pick if it's a boy or a girl, and what they're named. That is entirely on the player. So Kyle goes missing because he wasn't doing anything anyway, let's be honest. Kyle goes missing, and their kid sets out to find them. And your kid goes to a school that Kyle builds as his last act before he vanishes. And the school is where you start learning recipes. And you might be going, Snek, you can get books of recipes in Rune Factory 1 pretty early in your game time. Yes. Rune Factory 2 really doesn't care about your time at all. So you have to learn recipes one by one in a grueling connect the dots puzzle that you cannot skip. There is no fast way or bulk way to do them. You just have to keep attending classes at the school and just grind them out. And then you still have to grind your skills, because odds are good that even though Kyle's stats, equipment, and skills get passed on to his kid, odds are good they're not very high. They're still going to be abysmal. So you waste enormous swaths of time. Then the game opens up a whole new quest line, because for some reason, genetic memory is a thing in Rune Factory, and your kid can read the ancient language of the Earthmate script. Kyle cannot do this, but your kid can. Why? I don't know. They just can.
If it was what you did, what we did in our Let's Play, I would argue that it's because of the mom's influence, because wasn't she like some kind of hedge witch that was,
oh yeah, she was a psychic witch, yes.
Yeah, she's like, oh no, I'm no good at magic, and then then your kid shows up and they're like, I am the super wizard. So
Yeah, that would actually make sense. You see, according to the mangas, because there are manga adaptations for almost all of these games, the Mist clone is almost always the canon route. So this wouldn't be true in the broad scheme of Rune Factory 2, but in our playthrough, we actually do have plausible deniability, don't we? Mm-hmm. So you grind and you grind and you grind until you wish for the sweet release of death, or sweet release of moving to Brazil. And you complete the dungeons at each corner of the map. And once you do, you're just kind of run out of things to do. There's this mini-game / puzzle in each dungeon where you have to read these tablets that request certain items or certain conditions be fulfilled. And once fulfilled, the tablet breaks and it gives you another piece of the Earthmate script. But then you're like, well, that's all 4. I have them all. And the game's like, no, there's another one. And you're like, where? And you can run around and you can exhaust every option. In fact, the game basically wants you to just grind out every possibility and just exhaust your options until you arrive. Because what you do, and you're not ready for how stupid this is, when you build your monster barn, you get the building that appears on the ground. Then they explain, oh, well, if you want an extension, we'll just dig downwards. And they dig downwards 4 floors at a time, with each floor being able to account for 4 monsters. You have to dig down until you have 44 floors. And then, once you've done that, you have to go to the mayor and talk to him for permission to get 1 more floor. And when you do that, the final floor of your monster barn has a hole in the center of it that you can jump down into the final dungeon of the game. If you're going, Snek, that is incredibly stupid. Yes. Yes, it is. So you go through the final dungeon, and you get the last bit of the Earthmate script, and you take it to Barrett, who's basically been like a rival / kind of antagonist towards the main character for the better part of his time, when Kyle actually did something. So, about 5 minutes of time. Barrett becomes a teacher, and he's able to translate the script with help from, protagonist child. And they realize it is a spell that is specifically designed to help defeat super powerful dragons. So Barrett's like, oh, well, this is too dangerous. We're going to have to find like a professional knight or something to go down there and deal with the fact that Firesome is there. And the reason Kyle disappeared was because he locked his body as a countermeasure against Firesome's release, but doing so put his soul in the Forest of Beginnings. Now, there was a window of time at the end of Kyle's playtime where the kid takes over, where he had a solid like 10 minutes where he could have explained all this to you and been like, hey, Firesome's awakening, you gotta dig down, it's super deep underground, you gotta find the ruins, find the Earthmate script, find the Dragon Slayer, I think it's Dragonbane or Dragon Slayer, I forget how they translated it, like the Dragon Slayer spell, and then come find me. And we gotta stop Firesome. Bam. Bing, 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 doom. Done. What does Kyle do? No, there's no time to explain. I have to go and be dramatic, but I'm going to do a speech first about how I love you and I love your mom, and this is really important, and you just got to trust me on this, and I could be explaining this to you, but I'm not going to. And just walks out to go pick up some milk. Rune Factory 2 is a mess. But I will say the characterization in 2 is vastly improved over Rune Factory 1. The characters are much more memorable, they're much more colorful, and honestly, it was a lot more fun to have those social interaction moments than any of them in Rune Factory 1 ever were. The rest of the gameplay sucks. It's not very good. So, Rune Factory 3 happens. And Rune Factory 3 was like, okay, we've learned a lot. We've learned a lot from Rune Factories 1 and 2, and Frontier was out like a year or two before 3. And they're like, we're going to fix everything, and we're going to give a much more streamlined, much faster-paced, more action-oriented game. And it was awesome. It's really, really good. So, the whole thing is the protagonist is Micah. He's half human, half monster, but there is a stark divide between the human civilization and the monster or Univer peoples who live out in the desert. And he learns that once upon a time they lived together in harmony, but something bad happened, and it's probably Well's fault. And he has to be the ties that bind, and in some case, gag the peoples of this land under the Sharon's Tree. The Sharon's Tree is a very important landmark that is referenced for the remainder of the franchise, and it's also your house, so better take care of it. And the cool thing about this is, unlike the rest of old Rune Factory, Rune Factories 3, 4, and 5, and Guardians of Azuma are all available on Steam right now. You can still play these.
Yep.
Super accessible, super easy. In fact, it's really their definitive editions. So,
yep.
There's the special editions.
Which one that Snek is playing? It's all on Steam.
Yep. The special editions are a bit more enhanced. They have a rewritten script because, again, some of the early games were done by Natsume, so they wouldn't have had the license to use the exact script again. And they also have some harder difficulty options and some... they have newlywed mode, which I don't think I've ever really messed with before, so that's something. So, Micah turns into a woolly. That's his special power. He turns into a woolly bully and punches people. It's an entire skill tree. It's just punching dudes as a little sheep monster. And yeah, you basically play double agent, working together with the humans in your human form and the Univer in your monster form in order to bring about harmony and unity. And as we suggested earlier, about 30 minutes ago, Aquaticus shows up. It's like, what? You were about to be, into the throes of matrimonial bliss? Not on my watch, sheep. So he kidnaps your wife and drags her into the bowels of the game's final dungeon. And again, this is where it was standard that 4-season dungeons really became the norm. So you have to go into the island in the middle of this lake in order to fight Aquaticus to get your wife back. The implication being that you could literally be held there indefinitely until you're done grinding in order to come rescue her, which means that Aquaticus had to have been like feeding her and like helping her with stuff the entire time. It's really kind of degrading for someone who's supposed to be the god of water in this universe.
Well, I mean, are we going to spoil what happened?
Okay, this is a spoiler episode. Let's go ahead and dive into that. Why don't you carry us to the end of 3 there, Dutaku Man?
I mean, the entire thing basically is him trying to like prove a point to, you know, all of the nice people. You know, he's like, sorry, I really should focus entirely on what's going on in front of me. So he sets up this situation, and I forget if he's the one who actually gives you the amnesia and sets up the spheres that with your
Yes.
memories.
Yes, he says as much.
Yeah. Then so it's all, but it's all ultimately for, you know, reconciling the two villages together, which I always thought was funny because whenever I played 3, I always, you know, wifed up Karuna, the monster village elder. So, you know, it's like, no, you don't understand. You can't just marry the leader and everyone will go along with her because she's really fussy and she'll yell at them until they do it. And they're all kind of chill like that. No, you need to actively force them to integrate. Just like, okay.
Yep.
I mean, I get it. I get it. You know, this is for there's like 10 heroines. So, you know, for the other 9. And I mean, honestly, Karuna is kind of a secret character because she comes way later compared to the others.
You basically had to have you will meet every other character pretty much right off the bat. Karuna, you had to have completed the first full dungeon in order to even encounter her, and you can't complete her marriage proposal until you're almost done with the main storyline.
Yeah.
Because it requires you being able to move freely in both human and monster forms, which is almost the end of the game.
Which is funny because, like, I've actually had I want to say the last time I did it, I forgot the sequence of events. So I actually went on a date with her with the wedding ring, at which point I was trying to give her the wedding ring to propose to her, at which point she's like, you can't do that yet. I'm like, what do you want from me? We have 10 affection for each other. Why? Why do you want this? Do I need to get you more chocolate?
The answer is always more chocolate.
I mean, that sounds really, really bad until you learn that chocolate is like her most favoriteest thing, and so that's the best way to increase her affection for you.
Yep. Everyone has their favorite, and usually your way to your woman's heart is through her stomach.
Yes.
Because my beloved Pia, she loves squid dishes. So squid sashimi is one of those dishes you can actually learn really early in the game. So yeah, I basically just like fed her squid sashimi as her lunch every day.
And it's funny because you can get squid out of the lake that's like just south of her house.
Yep.
Like every day, year round.
Yep.
So
yeah, Aquaticus was kind of a D-bag, but he technically had his reasons. And he's like, oh, by the way, now that like you've unified everyone, I could give you back your original memories. And Micah's like, bro, that's going to cause more issues than it's worth. Don't even bother. So he's actually
like
the first
happy-go-lucky goober.
Yeah, he is, and it seems to be implied that he kind of always was. So Micah is just kind of a nice guy. So Rune Factory 4. Let me tell you a little something about Rune Factory 4. It's a long game. It is longer than any other installment, and quite possibly most of the other games in the series put together.
Let's put it this way. When I got when I beat the first major hurdle. There's actually three major, and major. There's basically like three acts, and each act they basically are like that, and then we have proceed. You have won. At which point, then the credits roll. At which point, you're like, did the game end? Is this post game content? Oh no! Oh no!
You're on the second story arc, Buster.
Yeah, you're on the second story arc, and so I was like, I'm level 100. Where do I go from now? Oh, sweet summer child, how little did I know that the fact that you level 100, that's child's play. Child's play.
For reference, the maximum level in Rune Factories 3, 4, and 5 is over 53,000.
Oh, you want to know what it is in 4?
What's that?
Someone actually achieved it like 2017. For records, they said that they basically played this nonstop the entire time. It's 67,000.
Now, mind you, you do not actually need thousands and thousands of levels to beat the game. Let's be clear here.
No.
A couple hundred, and you'll still probably be too powerful for the things that you're going to
I want to say Noodle beat Rune Prana. It took him 2 years of play, and he was like 300 when he did it.
That checks out.
Yeah.
So, Rune Factory 4...
He's going to come in here and talk about, how Margaret is the best girl. But you know what? People can be wrong. I mean,
It's okay to be wrong, because Xiao Pai is best girl.
We're going there. We're going there.
Go ahead, Itaku. Go ahead.
All right. See, the problem is that I like 2 girls in 4. I am a 2-timing floozy. I am, in fact, actually the rusty hoe in this instance.
Oof.
I love Chlorica, and I love Forte. I love them both, and they are both cute and wonderful for different reasons. I love the fact that Forte is fussy, and she is, like, the most earnest, friendly girl, and she actually goes out of her way to, like, help you really early. And Chlorica is just the sweetest, and I need to feed her apple pie and give her head pats, and she's just so nice.
That checks out. So, Rune Factory 4 is the first time in the series where you can play as a boy or a girl. So instead of giving you like a dozen bachelorettes, you get a half dozen of each.
It's even better because the way they give you the option is one of the strangest, what are you going to do? Basically, you are given the option of, wow, you're on an airship. What do you do? And your reaction to being on an airship is how you determine whether or not you will play as a boy or a girl. Granted, they will tell you after this.
And you can immediately back up if you need to.
Yes,
but it's still so super weird. Like, apparently, being afraid of heights means you are, in fact, a woman.
Hey, that's not us that's saying that. This is Marvelous.
That's what Marvelous decided. If you have acrophobia, you must be a woman.
Yes, the other option is you make a James Cameron movie reference.
Yes. So, like, imagine me playing this originally on the 3DS, because that's where it first came out on. And it's like, oh, it sure is high up. And I'm like, yeah, it is. That is what I would say. That is pretty accurate. It's like, oh, you must be a girl. I'm like, excuse me, sir. Ought we step outside?
Now, see, the funny thing is then you encounter, Leon Cadmon, and you're like, yeah, you're a girl. But I'm not, though. You say that. But...
Especially as... weirder things have happened. So, like I said, instead of
just even in the English translation, Leon is very flirty with you.
No,
even as a dude.
He is, yes.
But at the same time, though, he's a total G.
No,
he is one of my favorite characters in 4.
Absolutely. Like I said, like instead of 12 girls to pick from, you have half dozen of both. So you really can kind of pick, and they'll get introduced as you're clearing the dungeons, because some of them are sealed away in the form of boss monsters that you have to defeat in order to rescue them.
Yeah, they actually add that as part of the story, is that while you go through the dungeon, each of the dungeons have boss monsters that command, quote-unquote, the dungeon. And it turns out that they're actually enchanted villagers that were originally part of the town many years ago. It's basically, yeah, you uncover this entire conspiracy about, like, why are they all here? Why do they all have relationships to Ventuswil? What's going on? Why is Ventuswil so cagey whenever you start asking her about this? This is pretty crazy. She's pretty open about pretty much anything else.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
So you arrive just in time, and they're like, oh, you're the crown prince of NORAD that we've been waiting for. And you're like, if you say so, that must be correct? Question mark.
I have no frame of reference for this. I don't know who I am. I could be, question mark. At which point, then this really dapper dude with glasses, very nice glasses, might I add.
Oh, yes.
One of his favorite things is, in fact, actually glasses. You can create glasses accessories. That's his favorite thing. For whatever reason, he just thinks they're neat. And so the actual Crown Prince shows up, and you're like, hi, I'm the Crown Prince. And he goes, you know what? Sure.
Yes,
it's
you
okay.
are. I'm an economist, Arthur says with a dead smile on his face.
Are you okay, bro?
It's like, no. Don't worry your little head about this. Let me teach you how to be the best prince you can be.
Okay. This is actually one of the cooler parts of the story, because it basically over the course of the story, you are given the option of doing little side things for people, and this actually gives you what they call prince points. Prince points allow you to unlock things. Like you'll notice in 3 and earlier games, there are a crap load of festivals and stuff. There really isn't like that in 4. There's really not that a lot of like additional people that will come to the town. There are really not as many things available in the general store or the other stores as are in earlier games. That's where the Prince points come in. You can actually issue commands and be like, I want you to have higher level stuff, or we are going to have the Setsuban or other festivals, the throwing food at people festivals and stuff like that. But it depends on what you, the player, want to do. You are not required to do any of it. Granted, it makes your life a heck of a lot easier.
Yeah.
But it actually allows you to become an item merchant. And let me tell you, that is one of the funniest mini games, especially considering that one of the high-level maneuvers you can do is you just give them the customer service smile, and it just guilts them into buying stuff for you. And so Noodle especially is always like, come on!
Come on!
Yeah, you just smile and go, come on!
So the main character.
So good.
Oh no, absolutely. So you play as Lester Frey. You become friends with Ventuswil. As I said, Ventuswil is kind of weird as the Great Dragons go, because she's just kind of sitting in the middle of this town, and generally
she's considered the deity of NORAD or the deity of this town, and everyone is just friends with her for whatever reason.
Yep. She does.
All the other dragons are considered, with awe and reverence, and she's just chilling, just in the city hall. She just lives there.
Yep. She's just your Fembro and makes snide comments about you, and you'll snipe at her and she snipes at you. And Lest or Frey, depending on male or female, kind of settle into their role as the Crown Prince. So you rescue all the people. And then, well, the Zex Empire. Remember how I mentioned they were going to wait 3 installments before they came back? Well, guess what? It's been 3 installments now. So they return with a floating continent full of weapons.
One of the more annoying dungeons.
Yes. An incredibly annoying dungeon.
That being said, I found a really easy way of cheesing it.
Really?
You must know.
Do tell.
Yes. So one of the things you can do is, remember how we mentioned earlier how there basically are like king monsters that basically rule over the various dungeons that are actually your friends that you can, proceed to date. One of the first of them, you would know her as Amber's monster form.
Right.
You remember her? The giant flower fairy?
Yeah.
Yeah. You can actually tame that creature.
Yeah, you have to have a specific item, but you can tame any of the boss monsters.
Yes. It's actually, what it is it's the giant toy herb. And so it actually takes a bit of doing. Because in order to make a toy herb giant, it requires giantizer, which is actually kind of expensive starting out. It's
Right.
only, like 5,000 gold, which honestly is a pittance once you start to get strawberries. For whatever reason, strawberries, I guess because it takes longer for them to actually bear fruit, are bang for their buck, probably the best cash crop you can get. Not only because they sell for a lot, but also they can become things like strawberry milk, which sells for a lot for the amount that is required to actually make it.
Right, which is milk and strawberries.
Yeah, and that's literally it. Milk, strawberries, and the blender, I want to say. And so you get those. The thing with Amber's monster form is that not only is it really powerful as a creature, but you can also ride it. You literally just ride her piggyback, and you can and so certain areas will actually have, massive wind, which ordinarily, if you're just walking along, will push you back and basically act as a wall. You can actually fly through those areas, no problem. Otherwise, you're supposed to have very specific equipment in order to get through it. That makes it it's supposed to like force your hand a little bit, adjust your equipment and everything.
Right.
But yeah, you can just ignore that and just go, nah, I'm not going to do that. That's dumb. But just by having this particular monster.
Jeez.
Yeah. The only other one I'd really want to get is maybe, I forget her name, Dolce? The one creepy goth girl who has her dead sister.
Oh, yes. Well, they're the one you find in the haunted mansion, yes.
Yeah, who has like a jack-o'-lantern as her monster form.
Right.
Yeah. I know everyone loves Dialos. I mean, maybe it's because I'm, a guy and I'm straight. Maybe it's because it, hits a little bit too close to home, but I'm like, bruh, you need to chill. I say. And I'm going to leave that alone.
Dallas is all right. Like he's
You know
fine.
what? You can go ahead, take the shot. Take the shot, Professor. I know you want to.
No. My shot is much more directed because, while I would argue in most games there is like a best waifu, and I will say 4 kind of gives us a canon of example of a worst husbando, and his name is Doug, and Doug sucks. Everything about Doug sucks.
Oh, well, you're going to have to explain the reason why Doug sucks because, yeah.
So, Doug is literally a double agent for the Zex Empire who's under the impression that, rightly or wrongly, Ventusville is at least related to the destruction of his hometown. and is actively working against you in order to kill your fembro.
The problem is, too, is that Ventus Will doesn't really disabuse him of this notion because she is racked with guilt over several other situations. And so he confronts her about it, and she just kind of is like, well, I mean, yeah, ellipses. And what she doesn't say is, no, she wasn't directly responsible, but because she is like just that type of person, she, feels responsible for it anyway.
Yep. That she is
So,
too nice for her own good. And the thing
yes.
is, you got to understand, the great dragons, by virtue of their existence, change the world around them just by, like, sitting there. Like, that is why so many of these locations that we visited so far are important. The great dragon's presence, it, like, empowers these places. They are
Yeah.
already out of the ordinary. And Ventusville being there just out in the open, not even hiding, like, it's kind of a big deal.
And that's why and honestly, it's funny because she actually has one of the earliest events is you are going through you're going through the tutorial basically, and she speaks to you in a very, very imperious way. And actually, in the original 3DS, I don't think they do it actually in the remaster where they voice all the lines. But in the original, they gave her a very, they have the little like speech sound whenever people are talking.
Yeah.
And it always has the very big, imperious echo. Up until at which point, I want to say the main character like sees her just kind of like giggling to herself. At which point, he's like, "Aha!" At which point she lets out the girliest scream. And he's like, "Oh no, you found me talking to myself." You're like, "Yeah. Why are you doing that?" I don't actually like speaking in that imperious way. This is just the way I actually am.
Well, you see, Venti,
yeah.
you might have been able to hold the secret a bit better if you didn't give me the bedroom that's right next door to yours.
Yeah, and you're not a chatterbox that likes to talk about literally everything.
You kind of let the cat out of the bag on your own.
Yeah.
So, the Zex Empire attacks. It sucks. You engage in a duel with Ethelbert, finally killing him. Oh yeah, that's kind of important. I didn't even bring this up. Weapons in this universe are enchanted with a return spell. If you kill, quote unquote, kill a monster, it actually dematerializes them and sends them back to the Forest of Beginnings. The monsters do not die in the sense that their spirit leaves the physical realm forever. They'll come back eventually if there's a gate available, maybe, but it sends them back to the Forest of Beginnings. It's all very humanitarian. Now,
oh, that's the idea that we get from the mainline games. Guardian of Asma is a little bit more hardcore about it.
So the thing is, that return spell doesn't extend to humans. Rune Factory Frontier says in no uncertain terms, if you take a sword enchanted by the return spell and you kill a human with it, it just kills them. They die. So, Ethelbert straight up dies at long last. And the
Really,
Zex Empire...
doesn't he show up again in Rune Prana?
Yes. I'm trying to remember. So here's a confession. I have not 100%ed Rune Factory 4. In my 3DS file, I was absurdly far into Rune Prana, which is basically Act 3 of the story, and I wasn't able to finish it.
Okay, so all right, just so everyone's aware, basically what happens is after you go, you unlock all you solve all the puzzles, you free all the villagers, which basically weakens the seal that Ventus Will has been guarding. This is what allows the Zex Empire to actually invade. Ventus Will uses up most of her power in order to help throw away the floating continent and allow you to take on Ethelbert. But that basically causes her to exhaust all her energy and she dies, quote unquote. You have to wait a year after this, at which point then you are given the hints that something is going on in the Forest of Beginnings. And you have to figure out how to get there. Then you go through the Forest of Beginnings. Basically, you're walking through not even the Forest of Beginnings itself, basically an interstitial middle place between the Forest of Beginnings and your reality called the Rune Prana, which you're half in reality, half in the world of the runes, the Runies. And it's very strange. And this is basically the quote-unquote end game. And it is where extremely high-level enemies are, extremely high-level equipment, because this is all basically procedurally generated. And it basically supposed to waste your time, but it's also supposed to basically be the resolution to the story, and that this is how ultimately you get Ventus Will back and you have a happy ending. The problem is Rune Prana is really, really hard.
It's hard and it's long. And insert joke of choice here, but you will be there a very, very long and very unpleasant time.
The irony of the fact that one of the locks, literally one of the locks that it wasn't even me, it was my youngest sister, Baby Boogum, encountered, was it was a lock of a family. And ultimately she realized what it was supposed to be is you're supposed to bring your spouse and your child with you. It assumes that you have played the game so long that you're married and you have multiple children. It takes a bit of doing to do, by the way.
Oh, no, absolutely. Rune Prana is a little bit of a meme in the Rune Factory fandom because it's probably the most unforgiving leg of any game of the franchise.
I mean, I think it's great. Honestly, I think, and this is kind of my much like Wizards of Houston, my one beef with 5 is that it's like, I just wanted more. And partially that's just because of the fact that Rune Factory 4 goes for so long and kind of assumes you're going to play for so long.
Rune Factory 5 does require some explanation. First off, it's the biggest split in the series. Rune Factory 4 was originally released in 2013. Rune Factory 5 came out 2021. And if you're wondering why such a big split, well, it almost didn't happen. We were talking before we started recording. I was like, this is basically the series director getting on his knees and just going, please, 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 until someone gave him a pittance of a budget and set him to work.
Yeah, basically there's a huge reorganization, as I understand it. Marvelous, I don't know if it was Marvelous actually was about to close. Marvelous was about to be bought out. But the sense that I get from 4 is that it's akin to Fire Emblem Awakenings. That was just going to be like their big last hurrah. And so they made the most, comprehensive, most amazing game they could. And you play it and you kind of get that sense that it is a celebration of the entire series. There's a lot more callbacks to other parts of the series. There's a lot more characters that show up in NORAD. That'll just like Barrett shows up, Raven from 3, even a couple characters from 1, as I recall. I don't remember. It's because Mist. It's not Mist, although Mist does show up in other games. There was many years where Snek and I were like, Marvelous would do something, at which point we're like, and then they're gonna, announce Rune Factory 5. At which point we both go, haha, and we go, oh, it's never gonna happen, is it?
Well, it did. Eventually, we did get Rune Factory 5. And Rune Factory 5 pushed the series forward in some regards and basically played it very, very safe in most others. It's the first of the numbered games. It is the first full 3D world to explore. Now, technically, there have been others, but we'll get to that in a minute because we haven't touched on the spinoffs yet.
I will say this. I actually think that 5 is probably the best rendition, the best rendition at that point, because Guardians of Ozma exists now.
Right.
The best rendition to that point of trying to translate the original kind of 3D characters on a 2D environment
Yeah.
into a fully 3D situation. I think they do it really well. And I really liked it. Honestly, as I say, my major beef with 5 is just like it's a really, really short game.
It is. You can 100%, including the optional bonus dungeon, Rune Factory 5 at a shockingly early hour point. In fact, I can actually get some numbers for this because if I look at my copy on my Steam account, Rune Factory 5, I pumped 80 hours total into Rune Factory 5.
I was about to say, you mentioned that you encountered the secret boss and you were like, I wonder if I could do this. You proceeded to two-shot him. And you're like, this is sad because like this guy's supposed to be like super, super tough, and I'm like, oh, I'm dead.
So now 80 hours sounds like a lot, and I understand you're like, yeah, Snek, that's a very long RPG. Yeah, okay. But like you will hit a threshold. Like you will hit a threshold in the game where you will basically gain momentum and steamroll everything from that point going forward. A lot of those extra hours came about because I went back in order to complete the marriage prerequisites. 4 started an unfortunate precedent where you have to finish a particular character story if you begin one before you can begin another. So stupid me started the event with the weird edgy emo guy without meaning to and never bothered completing it. So for like 75% of the game, I didn't realize the game was under the impression that I was in a character event. I forgot that they happened that way. And so by like end game, I had my waifu at 10 hearts. And I'm like, why can't I propose or ask her on a date or anything? And it's like, oh, you're at an event right now.
My edgy friend is waiting for you to come to his birthday party. Oh, I can't imagine why he's not showed up in like 8 months.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Oh yeah.
So like,
and you know that you talked to him before, and so it's probably a case of like, oh hey guy, hey, and he can't say anything about it because he's like, if I say anything about it, he'll think I'm a loser.
yeah, I've ended up yeah, I've ended up making it awkward now. Social faux pas, my downfall. So
meanwhile in Guardians of Ozma, they allow you to basically have, I want to say, up to like 5 different events active at any given moment.
Basically,
it's actually a way more nuanced. Yeah, so you can basically juggle a bunch of different character plots.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, you kind of need to because there's a lot of characters in that game. Oh, boy.
There's a lot of characters. There's a lot going on. And honestly, you can tell that Rune Factory 5 was before they reorganized and Guardians of Ozma was after. Because Rune Factory 5 is relatively straightforward, and I would argue that like a lot of the best characters aren't marriage eligible. So we're an hour and a half into this diatribe. I feel pretty at ease to say this now. Rune Factory team, please give us a canon MILF that we can marry. It doesn't matter if the character has kids, because you can just update the child's description if you marry their mother. Let me have this. Just once. There are so many instances throughout this series of canon moms being like, you're cute. If only I was 20 years younger. And I was like, baby, that 20-year age divide does not need to break this. We can make this work.
I was gonna say there literally is a single mom in Rune Factory 5, and I'm like,
yes.
I'm just saying.
She's one of the hottest waifus in the game. Up and away, and you can't marry her.
And the funny thing is she is the first boss, and it's like, and this is just like the situation set up in 4, and it's like, Why are you not a bachelorette?
This is so
I'm just
unfair.
saying, Hina needs a dad.
She does, yo. She does. Like it's. I get it. It's a very you keep you keep everything on the same level. No one's like that big a standout. Okay, fine, whatever. Shut up. That's dumb. Like, let us have this.
No,
it-
I'm not gonna be. I'm not gonna be one of those like I forget her name. And there's the one. There's the one in 3, and then there's what's her face in 4, who I want to say is not Margaret, the other one who's like the detective.
oh,
I want to.
oh. I know who you're talking about. I actually
Yeah,
liked her character. I'm not sure I'd have wifed her, but I totally get why someone would. It wasn't that Noodle's thing. It was like Noodle really liked her.
yeah, he did, and he's like, Margaret is cute, but yeah, the one detective, she's like really, really cute, and I was like, okay, until I got to her actual character bit in the second arc, and I'm like, okay, I understand what you're talking about now, bro.
I get it. Yeah, there's like 2 single moms and 3 that like hit on you relentlessly. And like, of course, they're off the table. The first
Oh yeah,
time,
the mom of the shopkeeper.
yeah,
The shopkeeper.
Hazel and Shino, both of them.
Yeah, yeah.
Especially like if you have really high weapon stats, then Shino's like, "Oh, you look like you know your way around a weapon." Hint, hint. And Micah's like, okay. And Hazel even says something along the lines of like, "Oh, if I was younger, I would go for you." And it's just like, why do you tease me with the things you know I want in life? Getting back on track here. Rune Factory 5. A lot of the characters are kind of forgettable. I'll be honest, the only waifu I really liked was the succubus, and it's mostly because like her storyline is actually really freaking sad once you get into it. And I don't know, I'm just drawn to gloomy women with sad backstories. Why does this keep happening to me? Please send help.
There's a mystery, Ditaku says. We're looking at your wife, literally, in Guardian of Ozma, who is a gloomy, tree, basically. You married the tree there.
I married the tree. We'll get to that. So in Rune Factory 5, our amnesiac hero is Ares or Alice. The joke is that the name is said the same way in Japanese, regardless. That's funny. Japanese jokey joke. So
It's odd.
yeah. So you become a member of the organization known as Seed. And for some reason, Seed is always capitalized, but I don't think it's actually an acrostic for anything. So you are on the frontier, and the job of Seed is basically to act as rangers. They act whenever the kingdom is threatened, and they try to just generally maintain the peace. And I'm going to tell you,
like high-level law enforcement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
do you think that Micah was a Seed member? Because he seems to be going and doing the thing.
He was at least a knight or a guard of some rank, but it's not clear if he was Seed or not. But they easily could retcon it to say that he was.
Yeah.
So honestly, like, kind of just a lot of things happen while you're on patrol. And people are like, well, we can't 100% trust you because you're a weird amnesiac freak. And the main character is like, oh, it's a fair cop. I get it. Whatever. Shrug.
Also, the villagers, here, have a house. Here, take care of the strange monsters that keep showing up.
Also, there's this island dragon thing. What? It's a dragon. That is also an island. What? And it's your pet now. What?
Hey,
there's 4 of them.
Be thankful it's not an island whale. What?
Oh no, we'll get to that. So things go crazy pretty fast. Like, yeah, it's like everyone's like, we can't trust him. He's an outsider. I played as a guy, so I'm going to say him for sake of argument. I think in the manga it was a him as well, so whatever. So
We can't trust him. He's an outsider, but, date our daughters, please.
marry our daughters, and like Marakumo is just like, hey, bro, let's throw back some beers. It's like, yeah, definitely not trusting the outsider here with all the trusting of the outsider we have going on.
Yes.
So eventually they come across this place, and this place is basically like a negative space for runes. It is sucking runes into it. It is literally like choking out the world around it just by virtue of its existence.
You have to understand that this is, in the immortal words of Mr. Mackey, this is bad, okay? Bad. This causes the death of
All life.
All things.
Yeah. So you're sent out to investigate, and it turns out that at the core of this is being held hostage the Great Dragon of Darkness. And she is basically being used as the pull force for sucking all these runes out of the world. So you can't beat her because she's too powerful. But then it turns out your boss, the boss of Seed, is the Great Dragon of Light. And the two battle, and eventually...
What, the little girl
yes,
that keeps sassing you?
Yes, the little girl who keeps sassing you is the Great Dragon of Light. But the thing
is... That doesn't surprise me, honestly.
Nope. She used up too much of her power fighting against this encroachment, and she basically had to revert to a human state in order to lay low for a while, and that's why...
What is it with supernatural entities in this world and just like being like, well, there's something awful happening. Oh, I can't do anything about it. I have to wait for the amnesiacs to show up and take care of it for me.
Well, I mean, the canon explanation for that is because Earthmates can control and generate runes, they have a natural magical influence on the world around them. To call an Earthmate just a magic farmer is to do them a bit of a disservice, because Earthmates are freakishly powerful jacks of all trades. You will show up in town.
They're not just magical farmers. They're basically like magical freaks of nature that twist reality around them.
Basically, yes. So an Earthmate will stroll into a town, and like a lot of the time, they don't even know they're Earthmates. Sometimes the word is not even said to their face. So like I don't think the word Earthmate is ever said to Raguna in the definitive sense. I think Mist speculates he might be one, but like it's not until the end of the game that someone says, oh yeah, that dude's like FRFR, an Earthmate. I don't think Raguna himself has ever told that. So,
no.
Like, the thing is, you'll go into a town, and there's going to be a smith. Like, I spent 30 years figuring out how to put hammer to anvil. And the Earthmate, in the course of, 2 years, is like, oh yeah, I'm a better smith than you now. I can literally, run circles around you in smithing. And he's like, well...
let's just put it this way. I don't think the blacksmith is smithing so hard that you are nearly about to die until you're like, it's okay, guys. Pulls out a tub of ice cream, eats ice cream. I'm better now. Smiths again. Does this 5 times. And it's like, I now have graduated from bronze to silver.
So then, the town chef is like, yes, I've dedicated my life. I've traveled the globe to gather these recipes. And the main character shows up, eats some bread. That's how you learn recipes in later Rune factories. You eat bread, and you'll learn recipes. And he's just like, yeah, I'm a better chef than you now. What? I'm a better chef than you. I can literally make recipes that you've never even heard of that require things like, dragon paste to make. What's dragon paste? You're happy you're not knowing the answer to that.
It's the gluten, bro. That's my headcanon.
So, yeah, and then, let's not forget, the Earthmate walks into your town, and suddenly every eligible female in the 5-mile radius is like, boy detected. The only time I can think of where the main character has any competition at all is Rune Factory 2. Because if you take more than 2 years to pick, a couple bachelorettes get taken out of the pool. But, other than that, it just doesn't happen.
I mean, who's to say that Barrett isn't also a Earthmate? But man, he looks so weird. I don't get it.
He's on that very over-designed character type. So
For those of you, okay, so once again, future editor, Snek, we need to show a picture of what Barrett looks like so that people understand.
right.
And they also kind of understand that this is like early aughts Japanese fashion time.
Yeah, he looks like a pirate who lost his ship, but not his swagger.
Pirate captain who lost his ship, and also had his outfit coordinated by Gact. Yeah,
That's a good comparison. So, using
you guys remember Gact?
Still around technically, but I don't think he died.
No, I don't think he has. No.
So, with the Dragons of Light and Dark, you confront the Great Cataclysm that is threatening to basically, literally just suck the life out of all things on the planet. And it's a fish. The final boss is a big skeletal fish. And with very little effort on your part, I've gotten the point where I can kill him so fast it breaks his AI routine and makes the fight unplayable. Yeah, Rune Factory 5 was rushed by comparison, let us say. Is it still fun? Yeah, no, I enjoyed my time with 5.
It's funny because, you say it's rushed and it took them like 8 years to make.
Well, they weren't working on the game the entire time, to be clear.
Yeah, I know, but it's funny. It's funny if you treat it like it's, you them forever, because every single time there's a long gap in things, it's like you them forever, guys.
Obviously, they must have been working on it that whole time and not have any setbacks or stops at all. This is not how video game development works.
No, guys, you don't understand. They're still working on Half-Life 3. It's going to be fully 4D. It's going to have smell-o-vision. You're going to be able to taste the bullets.
That's a promise.
That's why, Gabe has the research vessels that are going around, doing actual Portal. And so the game will be so good because of that.
Well, so long story short, you kill the fish, and then you are like, oh, well, you saved the world, and now you can go back and do all those side missions you forgot. And I was like, wait, what side missions I forgot? And then I checked, and it's like, oh, yeah, there's that entire roster of side quests that I've not been doing the entire game. I should probably get on that.
Because Snap is too busy, doing things like, man, I sure do love farming. Man, I sure do love flirting with my wife. Help me, I need help with I need 3 things of green grass. Yeah, whatever. Anyways.
Cool, let me just stuff this in your mouth real quick. Wait, what? Yeah, cool story, bro. Anyway.
I don't need yellow grass. This stuff just grows outside, right? But I can't go that far. I'm stuck here. I had craft glue on my head. I sat down.
Oof, that's rough. So that's the mainline story as it stands. Now we're going to quickly detour into the last 3 games. These are the spin-off games, Frontier, Tides, and Guardians. So
he said this, but Frontier, Tides, and Guardians, there's a lot of time between them.
Yes, there are very large breaks in time. Rune Factory Frontier was released on the Wii. It was one of the few RPGs the Wii had, and it was released in 2009 globally and in Japan in 2008. So there would be a little bit of a break as the next spinoff, which was Tides of Destiny, was in 2011, which was a Wii PS3 title. But then between Tides of Destiny and Guardians of Ozma, bit longer, 14 years, as Guardians of Ozma was released in 2025. So, yeah, there was a moment there. So, Frontier
Kind of a moment, yeah.
Yeah, just a bit. Frontier serves as more of a sequel to Rune Factories 1 and 2 than it does to a direct inline to 3. In fact, Frontier was the first Rune Factory game I ever owned. Now, I love RPGs, and I also had a Wii. You might understand that these are kind of contradictory statements because the Wii barely had any. So I was really excited to get my hands on it because I had friends who had played the first 2 games and were like, dude, you should check it out. I was like, well, okay, I'll just grab the newest one and dive on in. Frontier, story-wise, kind of picks up where 1 left off because you play as Raguna again, meaning that whatever your waifu choice was non-canon, shrug, as Mist has disappeared from Cardia and has headed to Trampoline Village, which is indeed in the Frontier, and it sits underneath a floating island shaped like a giant whale. So Raguna's like, gosh, that's interesting, and discovers a magic beanstalk which grows up to the island. And he's like, I guess I'm going to Whale Island then. So he goes up, and the island is sentient and self-aware. And it's like, hey, by the way, I'm aware that you're standing on me right now, and maybe you might do me a favor. And Raguna's like, I have nothing better to do. What's that? And the island just is like, I'm dying, like slowly dying. And when I do, my rune will extinguish and I will fall and everything below me will be pulverized. And I don't think either of us wants that. So please figure out what's going on and save me. And Raguna's like, well, okay, no pressure or anything, just the lives of literally everyone for miles around. So, I mean, think about the logistics of that. Just from like, if we're assuming real world physics of giant whale island falling on your village from above cloud barrier, man, that would make Tunguska look like a party popper.
Just I would counter with the fact that, like, even though, I mean, there's so much magic going on, I don't know if that's really a...
Yeah,
I get where you're coming from.
It's pretty debatable, magical world and all that.
Yes.
So there's really 2 concurrent storylines in Frontier. There is the Whale Island story, and there's the Underground Ruins story. So inexplicably, Mist is like, hey, want to mow my lawn? And I'm like, not in particular? And she's like, hey, have a sickle, mow my lawn. And you're
hey, I'm sorry, is this some kind of innuendo that I'm not aware of?
No, mow my lawn. So you indeed take the sickle and you cut all the tall grass in her yard, which reveals the stairs to the green ruins. And Raguna basically can't stop himself from entering random, dangerous, deadly ruins. So he goes in and discovers that it's some kind of weird laboratory, and the boss is some chimeran chicken creature known as the Chickagriff. And let me tell you, the bosses in this game are hard. And Frontier shares the skill system of Rune Factories 1 and 2. So higher skills just means that you're gatekept less, and not that you're actually getting any stronger. This game is also really weird in that it gives you a pool of rune points, the energy of these series. You get 500 rune points, which is a lot to start the game with. And then by end game is not much at all, because under any other conditions, you would have way, way, way more. But there's no way to extend the rune point bar in Frontier. It's just locked at 500 permanently. And so it's really tough. And one of the things you basically want to do straight away is to find a monster that you can mount. And like the silver wolves that appear on Whale Island are a great choice for this. And use them to help conserve energy by using them to just kill monsters and grind them up a bunch, because monsters don't have RP. So there's your strategy guide for the game. So, as you're progressing through the story and you're going across Whale Island, you meet Iris. And Iris is a weird character because there's two of them. There's Iris Noir and Iris Blanche. And it turns out that there used to be a mad scientist who was working experiments in the dungeons below and on Whale Island, trying to master the power of the runes and manipulate them to basically cure death. What he created was a vampire. Iris is a vampire. And it used to be just one Iris. Iris was locked in captivity well after the scientist died, and she couldn't die, vampire, so she became so lonely she split into two people so that she would have someone to talk to.
Wow.
This is as crazy as I'm making it sound, yes. So you basically are like going through all these labs that the scientist guy created. I don't remember his name or if he was even given one. And then as you're progressing below, you progress above. Your progress on one is kind of dependent on the other. There's a lot of waiting in Frontier. There are a lot of story events where you'll do something proactively, and then the game is like, oh, well, you have to wait like 3, 10, 30 days now. Why? Shrug. It's old Rune Factory. Deal with it. So eventually you learn through all these different encounters that the ultimate evil is the octopus and the dog. I'm making this sound a little reductive, and it kind of is, but here's the deal. The final boss of the Earth dungeons down below is a super chimera that the scientist created that was basically his equivalent of the Ultimate Lifeform project from Sonic the Hedgehog. And it's this weird wolf thing. And what makes it dangerous is it basically was so hyper-violent that he had to lock it into a small subspace pocket. Otherwise, it would have just killed everything in its bloodlust. So the only way you could get to it and actually deal meaningful damage to it is with help of Laga, which is the name of the floating whale island. You learn of this thing called the Song of Trust. And the Song of Trust is basically engraved throughout the different facilities that you visit. And the bachelorettes of the game sing in medley format the Song of Trust during the boss fight with the perfect lifeform wolf. It's an okay song. Like, I'm not sure anyone would add it to their easy listening list or anything, but it's pretty good as like interesting boss fight. I guess technically it's a boss fight song, but it doesn't sound like one. Look it up. Anyway, you destroy the Ultimate Lifeform project, and that gives you access to the final leg of Whale Island, which is the highest point on Laga's back, which is a tower containing a giant red octopus that used to be just an ordinary animal that absorbed so much rune energy that it just became gluttonous for the stuff and was trying to eat Laga's core, which is what was sucking the runes away. So it was all this one scientist's fault. Now, interestingly enough, there is a unique variant storyline. If you marry one version of Iris or the other, they will actually fuse back into one entity. And there will not be a second Iris running around. That's certainly interesting. I did not marry Iris. I just read about her online. Because honestly, I don't find generic anime waifs with no personality that engaging. But she's kind of plot significant because it comes up like immediately again in Tides of Destiny. So, Tides of Destiny, I would say is like the first spin-off game that had a personality to call its own. Frontier plays a lot like Rune Factories 1 and 2, maybe a bit faster like gameplay-wise, but the core ideas are very similar. Tides of Destiny introduced jumping, full 3D camera, which was the first in the series. It did that quite a bit before Rune Factory, about 10 years before Rune Factory 5, in fact. And the story's a little bit of a CF, so I want everyone to strap in while I try to explain this as best as I can. There's Aiden and Sonia. They're your male and female protagonists. They are not the same person, unlike Aries or Alice or the like. They are two separate people, and they are both relevant to the story on a regardless basis. They live on an isolate place called Feneth Island. And the thing is, Feneth Island is famous for its guardian dragons. They're a particular subbreed of dragon that only live there. Well, they have so many that they actually kind of complain that they blot out the sun sometimes because you're just like constantly in shadows of these giant dragons flying overhead. But then one day, they hear a voice call out to them, and they are suddenly in a version of Feneth that is built slightly differently, and there's only one guardian dragon remaining. And there they start meeting the inhabitants of Feneth Island, who are not the inhabitants they already knew. Now, interestingly enough, I think this is the first, maybe only instance where the main character is said to be an Earthmate and is like confirmed immediately that he is and knows that he is. Also, Aiden and Sonia are not insomniacs. Insomniacs.
No. No, the problem...
amnesiac is the word I meant.
The problem with that, though, is the fact that you basically are playing as Aiden, but you have Sonia riding around in your head.
Yep, because when they wake up on everything. So
yeah.
Sonia's body vanishes, and her mind and soul are somehow put into Aiden's body. They're really open about this. When they first described this 2-in-1 hero thing, I kind of thought it was going to be like Micah, where you would like shift between them and you could only have one active at a time. So then like people would be like, oh, you guys ever seen Aiden and Sonia in the same room at the same time before? That sure is strange. But no.
Instead of that we got Ultraman Ace.
Yeah,
playing as Ultraman Ace.
Yeah, basically. Or Kamen Rider Double. And like Aiden's like, oh yeah, Sonia's just in my head, and everyone on this island is so chill. They're just like, yeah, okay, that makes sense, I guess. That doesn't...
Sure, yeah. Sure.
So, like, the thing is, Sonia can talk to people through Aiden's bodies. Like, he kind of has proof that she's there. And I'll just be honest, like, the voice cast is doing their best. What was not being done the best was sound randomization, because every day Sonia will clock in with the exact same line reads for like every single event. And that includes like time of day, if you're engaging in combat, or if you're like watering a whole bunch of crops, she feels the need to comment on it too. It's like she doesn't stop talking ever. So among the myriad freaks and weirdos that they meet, they end up finding one of their characters, Elena, I believe, is obsessed with golems. And they discover in their pocket a particular seed, which they plant in their backyard. Because, once again, this is Rune Factory. People just give houses away for free. So... the heroes get settled in, and the cliffside behind their house just gives way as a giant plant golem just steps out from where the seed was planted. And because they planted the seed, the golem responds only to them. So they get Ymir, the giant golem, and their means of crossing the surrounding ocean. So, yeah, you become oceanic explorers, and you find islands and pull them to the surface, because apparently in this world islands aren't supported by foundational geological structure. They just float on the surface of the water. Shrug. So one of the things they hoist up is a statue, or what they believe to be a statue, which actually turns out to be Pandora, the evil sorceress. And well, she claims she's an evil sorceress. She's more of an incompetent magic user who's honestly kind of a pushover. And she explains...
As you do.
As you do. And she basically explains, like, oh yeah, I know all sorts about like different myths and legends and stuff. And so as you're upping islands, you start finding these particular towers atop certain islands in the compass point directions around Feneth Island. And as you go there, a masked man intercepts you after the boss fight in each area and destroys a particular colored orb within each. As he does this, the runes in each of these tower dungeons become corrupted and turn into these strange purple dark runes that you can't hurt or do anything to. You just have to run away. And so it becomes this race against the masked man. And you learn that the masked man's ambition is to revive the legendary ancient golem. The legendary golem was a force of destruction so terrible that the 4 great dragons had to come together and fight it together in order to just lock it back under the ocean. And that battle is what gave shape to the islands, continents, and land masses of the planet. It was literally a globally reshaping event. So, they're like, we can't let him do that. If he revives legendary golem, that's kind of just a game over condition. Everyone loses. And, so far so good, right? Well, here's where things go crazy, go nuts. And I hope I can explain this. I've beaten this game multiple times, and to this day, this story is a little unhinged.
I'm just going to say, in fact, if you, his Let's Play, his last Let's Play was so famous that it actually is out there as official, it's official.
Quote-unquote official. The Rune Factory wiki actually stole screenshots from my screenshot Let's Play without ever asking me permission. Now, the funny thing about that is, if they asked, the answer would have been yes. And no, I'm not going to tell them to take them down. I don't care. I just think it's really funny that they did.
And we know it's them because we had a very distinctive name.
Yes, our main character was given a distinctive name, and there was like your accessories or your armors change your appearance in Frontier, Tides, and Guardians. So they were very clearly mine, which is really funny, honestly. Anyway, so we learn.
Sorry, I just figured I should share that.
No, I think it's funny, honestly. So we learn that the giant guardian dragon, the last one that Feneth Island has, is basically due to leave for the Forest of Beginnings. So she does, and she leaves behind the last egg. You're actually free to name the baby dragon, so that's something. Shrug. And the baby dragon will hatch after a certain story event, but there is a bit where you kind of lose fast travel because of it. And when that happened to me in my first playthrough, it happened at a very inconvenient point in the story. So that sucked. That being said, so we learn via Pandora spelunking through ancient magic tomes that Aiden and Sonia were transported from the distant past. I want to say it was 200 or 500 years. They were moved into the future, and Sonia's body was taken over by the masked man. The masked man is actually a masked woman, because despite the deep masculine voice that comes out of it, it's Sonia's body. And as you go to the final confrontation, you encounter this. And it's basically explained that because they were transported together and Sonia's body was taken by the masked man, her soul was forced into Aiden's body because she had nowhere else to go. And how souls work in Rune Factory is never actually expounded upon, so we just kind of have to accept that at face value. So you use Ymir, and Ymir battles the legendary golem until both of them shatter into pieces. And then you're left to sword fight with the masked man. The masked man is not really ever explained, but he does exposit that there are the dragon priestesses and the dragon knights. This is nowhere else in Rune Factory lore. I just have to go on what this guy tells us. So the 3 sisters who own the inn, which is where your house is located, they are the descendants of the dragon priestesses. But the dragon priestess of the wind has been missing since 500 years ago, when Sonia vanished, because Sonia is the descendant of the dragon priestess of the wind. And it turns out Aiden is of the line of the dragon knights. The role of the Dragon Knight is to protect both the Guardian Dragon of Feneth and the Dragon Priestesses. The Dragon Priestesses are supposed to oversee the 4 shrines, those being the 4 compass point towers that contain the elemental seals inside each. Here's where this story makes no sense. There's an inherent time paradox where the masked man's plan and the success of the masked man's plan are mutually exclusive events that cannot happen in a state of cause and effect. So that's something. We don't know who the masked man is. There is nothing in the franchise so far that has given us any insight into who he was or where he came from. We don't know why he needed to hijack a body in the first place. We don't know if he was like a monster or a dragon or some entity of some spectral nature that needed a physical corporeal form. Like, I would have accepted the explanation if he was like the will of the legendary golem that just needed a body. Like, but they don't even say that. We don't know. This dude disappears out of nowhere, steals Sonia's body, and just starts fighting us with it. So, long story short, we destroy the legendary golem, and we defeat the masked man and retrieve Sonia's corpse. So, the thing is, you then have to go through a bit of a filler quest. The game gives you the option to continue the post-game as either Aiden or Sonia. And the way you do that is you have to have all the friendship events with every character who's marriage eligible on the island up to rank 6. Because that's where the story where Sonia is in Aiden's body comes to an end. Because they didn't want to write alternate friendship events where Sonia is not necessarily in Aiden's head, you just have to grind up friendship for everybody until everybody's on the same level to empower the spirit compass. Now, we are told, in a little bit of an interesting callback, that the principle of the spirit compass is the same as the principle of Iris splitting into 2 separate entities. So there's some precedent for it. Long story made short, Aiden and Sonia then get to pursue their endgame, where they get married and have children and can grind out the last couple islands and the Colosseum, which has a litany of bosses taken from other Rune Factory games, including all of the major dungeon bosses of Frontier, minus the dog and octopus fights. So, that's Tides. Also, Jutaku really likes Mikoto, and rightfully so, because Mikoto is great.
I mean, let's just put it this way, guys. It is literally a case of every single. They try to introduce her as like, yes, this incredibly powerful warrior from the Far East. Yes, he's very powerful. He's very cool. He's very mysterious. You look at him, air quotes,
Him.
and he's got a visible bust line, and you're like, yeah, okay.
Also, during the summer swimsuit event, he is the only character apart from the obligatory Descent Coquille character not shown in a swimsuit. So it's like, yeah, okay. All right. Fun fact, though, Lily, one of the 3 sisters, is the first bachelorette in a Rune Factory game to be canonically stated to be older than the protagonist. So that's a thing.
Huh.
And that takes us to the...
Didn't know that.
Yep.
I didn't know that.
If you go down her marriage events, she will make an aside that she is a bit older than Aiden is. And he will basically be like, I don't care about that. I like you for you, and I don't think that should play in. But it doesn't say how much older than him she is, just that she is older, and she's older enough for it to merit comment. Hi. And with that, we arrive at Guardians of Azuma. If you're not playing Guardians of Azuma right now, I guess my question to you is, like, why? Why are you not playing Guardians of Azuma right now?
It's one of the best ones, yes.
Easily. I would say, like, if I had to put a definitive answer, I would have to split them by main and spin-off storylines. I'd say 4 for the mainline games and Guardians of Azuma for the spin-offs. Guardians of Azuma is just so good. I've done a full review. I did my first impressions with the game. They are just fantastic games. It's like, why aren't you playing Guardians of Azuma right now? I will say,
No, it's really good.
absolutely.
I had a lot of fun with it, and I was already a fan, but I was like, man, it does a lot of things that I'm like, I didn't think that they would be, but I thought it was pretty good.
No, absolutely. Guardians of Azuma did a lot of things to streamline the gameplay mechanics and also to expand on them. For the skill system was reworked so that it was an unlock tree and you could pick the general flow of the unlocks that you want. So the skill system was a little more hands-on. Then it is also the question of, like, you still have farming because Frontiers farming is basically the same as the mainline games. Whereas Tides, farming was a lot more hands-off. You used a particular series of tools, the magic wands, to plant saplings and then had monsters cultivate those saplings for you. So there was actually a much bigger emphasis on action in Tides of Destiny. Whereas Guardians of Azuma decided to kind of embrace both at the same time. And they have it where you do have magic tools that greatly expedite farming, but you still have to tend to the totality of the fields like you do in traditional Rune Factory games. It's actually a very, very interesting and very clever compromise.
Oh, I was just going to say, I like the also the fact that they give you the village system where basically it's not just so much you running everything, it's actually you supposed to be delegating. I wish our villagers were a little bit smarter.
Some of the subsystems are really well refined, and some of them are like, let me just say, villagers can do any job, just don't let them be farmers. They're terrible at it. They will mess everything up.
It's not that they will, like, destroy crops or anything. It's just they're so slow that it's just not worth it.
Nope. It is way more efficient for you to do that yourself. Let them mine or fish or literally anything other than farming, because at least then they'll be bringing in a profit. Guardians of Azuma also fixed the issue with characters being very flat and dull in Rune Factory 5. Like, right off the gate, you meet some really, really cool and fun characters. I would say it would be harder to point out a bad marriage candidate in Guardians of Azuma than it is to pick out a good one in Rune Factory 5.
Yeah, even Aroha, like the supposedly quote-unquote generic, girl, is she's got a lot of personality to her.
Absolutely. The characters are very fun. There's a very strong emphasis on characters. Like, once you beat the main story campaign, the game's like, oh, you should make it a point to, like, make friends with everyone in town and like get closer to them. So they push that a lot of the story is done that way, and I think it's actually to their credit. It makes the character interactions much more satisfying and much more rewarding, and it means that you're kind of digging in a bit more and learning a lot more about them. Now, I think it's time for that gun to your head moment that we love so very, very much. So, Ditaku, who was your waifu? And/or husbando?
In Guardians of Azuma?
Correct.
Hina. Although, I really liked Aroha, and I think when we started playing, I forget her name, the tree.
Oh,
the tree. I actually had
Uraraka.
I actually had a really high thing just because I thought it was funny to tease her, and she's that one of those, like, characters that gets easily flustered. And so I just like being a goofball at her, and she's just be like, "Oh, you." So
my approach was a little different. I was the immaculate gentleman who was like, my lady, let me, carry you across this mud puddle here. The mud puddle is like 5 inches across. Yes, I dare not sully a maiden's honor. And then, like, later on in her story, she's like, oh, I literally know everyone and everything about everyone who enters into my home village. And, Protag Cone is like, wait, does that include me? Does that include me? And
I know everything.
everything. Kitty face.
Oh.
I showed the screenshot to the Tomo bros, and they're like, bro, you got groomed. Like, Ulalaka set you up to be her perfect husbando. You thought you were in control. It turns out it was her the whole time.
Yeah, pretty much.
I've thought about, at points, doing like a lore of the Rune Factory world, but honestly, that's way harder than it sounds. You have to play for hundreds of hours into relatively complex RPGs in order to get to the meat and potatoes hiding underneath. And it's like, these are fantastic games. You guys owe it to yourselves to play. In fact, I didn't even know this, but just looking up Guardians of Azuma, there is now a PS5 and Xbox port of the game as of February of this year. Like, you guys have no excuse. You guys can all play it now.
I should tell Noodle that. He would be really happy to hear that. I don't think he's played Guardians of Azuma.
Yeah, there's a PS5 and an Xbox Series port now as of February 13th, 2026. So that's
Nice.
good to know. And like, these are fantastic games, like, for the most part. I will say you can kind of skip 1 and 2 and Frontier, if we're being perfectly honest. But everything after those first 3 games is solid gold. You owe it to yourselves to dive in. And once again, if you want absolute, like, your recommended reading, I guess might be the word, like, get Rune Factory 4 and Guardians of Azuma. There is continuity, but not enough to throw you off the scent. The game will tell you what you need to know at any given time.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, one of the things is that, like, the entire, we joke about it, but like the amnesiac aspect of it basically is used not just to give you a tabula rasa character, but also so your character is a viewpoint character, and it's one of those things where even in latter day games, they will explain things to you.
Yep.
So don't feel like, oh no, I can't play any of the new ones because what will will they be impenetrable? No, they're not. They're very slow. They ease you into things. Actually, it was kind of frustrating for Snek and me in Guardians of Azuma, because we were like, how do we do this? How do we improve things? And it's like, I don't know. We haven't unlocked that yet. We are so used to having like so many subsystems and other abilities set up. We weren't sure. So,
and Guardians of Azuma is like, oh well, you'll just get a shop for that. And we're like, I'm sorry,
yeah.
What?
What?
Why do we need those? Why can't I just do it myself? No. There's a shop for that now.
You're better than that. What?
So like, these are really fantastic games, and honestly, I feel like a lot of the times they're overlooked because the genre is becoming very rapidly saturated. And we've been saying it for so long, it's like, it's time for us to do this deep dive into these games and explain why they're so good and so interesting. Now, I'm not going to spoil Guardians of Azuma. That's a little too new. That's kind of hot off the presses. You guys need to experience that one for yourselves.
Let's just say that you may or may not, kill your sister babysitter, and you get groomed by a tree. So,
Well, at least I did. So, there's out of context
Oh,
for
okay.
you.
It's entirely possible to get groomed by a sword.
Fair. That is true.
Hello.
You can get. Oh, hello there. You are just in time for the sign off. Have you, good Sir Bacon, played any of the Rune Factory titles?
Seeing as though I don't think I've ever heard of them, I'm going to go with the resounding no.
Fair enough. You'll have to watch this episode then. So,
I think it's on my to-do list right now as I'm just jotting it down right under like discover dinosaur and food. It just says food.
Respectable goals. All things you can do in Rune Factory, funny enough. Anyway, thank you, everyone. If you are still listening at the 2-hour mark, you legends, please do that like, comment, subscribe thing that we love so very, very much. This has been Ditaku and the Hipster Snek and late arrival, Bacon Bits. So thank you for tuning in and listening to us.
Later.
I am cooking bacon.
Magnificent. And we'll see all you guys next time.